Going to Bluetooth here with you, and it is my last day on vacation. But you know what? I'm going to make the best of it and do a college football season preview. I got my notes, plenty of notes, and today I decided to do Baylor. And we all know that they have a new head coach, Dave Aranda, and what some people don't know is that they also have a new offensive coordinator, Larry Fedora from North Carolina. And he was actually a pretty decent coach at North Carolina and just kind of fell off. Started hot at North Carolina. In fact, in 2015, North Carolina set school records on offense for the most points, 570. Points per game, over 40 points per game, and touchdowns, 73 touchdowns in 2015. And of course, we all know they scared Clemson just a little bit. But it all depends on which Fedora shows up at Baylor. If that Fedora shows up, then Baylor is in good hands. If the Fedora that kind of fell off towards the end, could be a little shaky, but we'll see. So let's go back and talk about the head coach. Matt Rule goes on to the NFL, and Baylor goes out and gets Dave Aranda from LSU, who was their defensive coordinator. Not a terrible hire. The weird thing about Aranda, though, is during the regular season, his defense was not that good. But starting with the season finale with Texas A&M, it started to ramp up. His defense held their opponents, all four, including Texas A&M, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Clemson. So all but Georgia, all three of those other teams know how to score points. He held all four of those teams to a total of 70 points. That's an average of 17 points a game. That's pretty good. And that helped LSU win the national championship. So talking about Baylor, the offensive line has got to do better. Charlie Brewer is an excellent quarterback, but he took way too many hits. Last year he went 251 for 389. That's 64.5%. Threw 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. That's really good. The issue, though, is offensive line. He was taking big hits. And what we see here is if Charlie Brewer ends up looking at the sky, or, God forbid, he ends up getting injured, then those numbers not only might dwindle, but if he gets injured, they might completely go away. So the offensive line needs to get it together, because if they don't learn from their mistakes from last year, they're going to be doomed to repeat them, and Charlie Brewer is going to get banged up and possibly injured, and that is a dangerous situation. Still staying with offense. Brewer's best targets, Mims and Platt, they're gone. So, Tyquan Thornton and R.J. Sneed will need to try to fill those roles. Thornton had 45 receptions for 782 yards, averaging 17.4 yards per reception, and had 5 touchdowns. So then you have R.J. Sneed. He had 42 receptions for 437 yards, averaging 10.4 yards per reception and 3 touchdowns. Not great numbers, but experience. So they do have some experience coming back at the wide receiver, even though they lost some two big players. Now, the ground game, it will be anchored by John Lovett. Last year, he led the team with 103 carries for 655 yards, averaging 6.4 yards a carry and 5 touchdowns. So he didn't score a ton, but 6.4 a carry, that's pretty decent. And also, Baylor does have several quarterbacks, not including Brewer. Well, Brewer can run too. But they have several quarterbacks that they are capable of utilizing in the run game, and Treston Ebner will back Lovett up, and he is not a terrible runner, but definitely not good as Lovett. Lovett is the main go-to guy for the running game. So now let's talk about the defense. I didn't know this. Baylor also has a new defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts. He comes from Louisiana University, and under Roberts, the Raging Cajuns only allowed 19 points per game. That's pretty good. 174 yards per game rushing, and 197 yards per game passing. That's pretty stout numbers. Now, that is for Louisiana, and they're in a lesser conference, but Raging Cajuns weren't a bad team last year, 11-3. Problem for Baylor. Big problem. Only 2 starters return from a very good defense. A little bit of good news. They do get their leading tackler, Terrell Bernard, back, and so they can build around him. They also get cornerback Raleigh Texada back for his senior year. So there's your 2 starters coming back. Other than that, this defense is super young, and growing pains are expected. Linebacker Jalen Petre showed some talent last year. He played 4 games, had 12 tackles, including a couple for a loss. So even though he's not a returning starter, he does have some game experience from last year, and he looked pretty good. And also incoming redshirt freshman Matt Jones, he brings some good size. So there's several people that Baylor can build their defense on. So let's run through our heaven and hell scenarios. Heaven scenario: Dave Aranda and Rob Roberts, they worked miracles with the defense and with the offense being able to score with relative ease. If the O-line holds up, Baylor has a 10-win season and possibly contends for the Big 12 title. Hell scenario: youth on the defense bites Baylor, and the O-line can't protect Drew Brewer again, and Baylor goes on to miss the ball. What does Golden Blue Tube see? Well, Golden Blue Tube sees somewhere right in the middle. Not total hell, but that heaven scenario, I don't see it happening. So my prediction is a little heaven and a little hell. Baylor does take a step back because of growing pains on defense. They are very young. And the offensive line does step it up a notch this year. But I looked at their schedule and it is brutal. I will say though, I do think Baylor still makes a bowl, but they will take a step back from last year. And you know, it's kind of sad because Brewer is a better quarterback than, you know, what this season is going to look like. So I still think he's going to have a great year. So let's look at Baylor's schedule. First, they get Ole Miss in a neutral site. Give them a win. Then they get Kansas at home. Win. Then they get Incarnate Word at home. Win. Then they get Louisiana Tech at home. Win. They're off to a good start, 4-0. Well, then they have to go to Norman and play Oklahoma, and that's where they get their first loss. Then they go to Texas Tech. I'm going to give them a win there, though. They get TCU at home. I'm going to say loss. At Texas, loss. Oklahoma State at home, loss. At Iowa State, loss. At West Virginia, loss. And then Kansas State at home, I'll give them a win. So Baylor ends up going 6-6. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this one, but it's really the youth on defense and a brutal schedule that has made me decide on the 6-6. Maybe they'll end up pulling off some other wins that I don't see coming, and they could have a 7-8 win season, possibly 9. But right now I see it at 6-6. Defense super young. I don't trust that offensive line, but Baylor can score, and they will score. I just don't think it will be enough to get more than 6 wins. That's just how it is. That's all I got for you today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on my next prediction.